Welcome back to the Fourth Way Podcast. Today we are continuing to discuss some common rebuttals to my arguments against government. In this episode, I want to look at the rebuttal to my position, which declares that participation in government is a duty. Even if you can't get behind the idea that government is necessary, or even the most effective thing, since it's the hand we've been dealt, we are duty-bound to participation in it. Probably the best text of Scripture you'll find to argue this point is Jeremiah 29, where God tells exiled Israelites to seek the welfare of their city. Even though these exiles are aliens and strangers in Babylon, they are to participate in Babylon and to seek its good. While these exiles would have preferred to be in their homeland and never exiled in the first place, they were dealt the hand that they had, and God was telling them to live appropriately based on where they were. Likewise, it is argued, Christians today are exiles and aliens in our modern Babylons, yet we should be seeking the welfare of our city. We are duty-bound to better our world and to uplift all those made in the image of God. So how would I respond to that? It's important to identify the huge presupposition here. I would agree that Christians are to seek the welfare of the city. That welfare isn't what we're arguing about here. What we're arguing about is whether or not pursuing government is a means whereby that welfare is sought and obtained. Nowhere in Jeremiah 29 does it indicate that seeking the welfare of the city requires collusion with ungodly rulers or methodology to exert force on others. What God does specifically say is that they are to plant gardens, build houses, get married, have kids, and tell their kids to do the same thing. God's directions were focused on individual actions and small community choices and lifestyle. It wasn't about top-down coercion. God's plan is often a bottom-up approach. Furthermore, this command at the beginning of Jeremiah 29 has in view the rescuing of the exiles. God is telling the exiles to live life and not give up, because hope is coming. Their children will be saved. Don't stop living and don't become despondent. You might not see the day of salvation, but your children's children will. The day is coming. This exhortation is then not a command to take over the levers of society, but to rest in the sure hope that even in the mundanity of planting a garden, the exiles are rebelling in their true hope of another kingdom. It's crazy to me that when I created the outline for this season, this episode was going to be one where I thought I'd have to talk a lot about it. But as I sat down to write it out, after completing most of the other episodes in full, I just can't think of anything else to say because so much of this rebuttal is built on presupposition. Presupposing that God's kingdom is pure metaphor and isn't in competition with worldly kingdoms. Presupposition that government does more good than harm. Presupposition that legislation is proactive rather than reactive. Presupposition that Christians can bear the sword and force people to only walk around the streets drinking out of stamped plastic cups, or else they deserve having a gun put to their head. You might have to listen to some other episodes to get that reference. But anyway, the point is, there is so much presupposition going on in this duty rebuttal to think that my duty to state isn't in conflict with my duty to God's kingdom, and that the state is beneficent enough that to seek the welfare of my city, I must seek the state. If you've listened to this whole season and you still find duty to the state coming into play, then we'll just end up fundamentally disagreeing and there's no arguing you into the kingdom, the big K kingdom. Sorry for the short episode, but I felt it was needed anyway. That's all for now. So peace, and because I'm a pacifist, when I say it, I mean it. This podcast is a part of the Kingdom Outpost Network. Please check out the links below to find other great podcasts and content related to nonviolence and kingdom living.